For as long as we've been human, we've looked up at the night sky and just wondered, what are all those little lights? Are we the only ones here? And maybe the biggest question of all, could we ever go there? This obsession with worlds beyond our own, it's one of the most powerful stories we have.
But what is it about that huge, dark, empty space that just pulls us in? Why do we feel this almost gravitational urge to find out what's over the next cosmic hill? That's really the fundamental question we're going to dig into today.
So what's the real reason? Well, some people argue that you won't find the answer in a lab or on some spreadsheet. No, they say it's way more fundamental than that. The idea is that this drive to explore, it's literally hardwired into our DNA. It's a basic, unshakable part of being human.
Okay, so let's unpack that idea a bit. What are the real reasons? The practical ones, sure, but also the deeply personal ones that make us want to reach for the stars, even when it's so incredibly hard.
Well, you've got the reasons you can sell to a government, right? National prestige, economic growth, jobs, national security, all that good stuff. But underneath all that, there are these deeper, more human pulls. Things like the desire to build a legacy, to inspire the next generation, and that simple, powerful instinct to just be the first.
So who foots the bill for all this? The astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has a really powerful way of looking at it. Think of it like a partnership. Government agencies like NASA, they're the pioneers. They're the ones taking on the insane risks and costs to draw the map where there isn't even a path yet. It's only after that frontier has been charted that private companies can come in to, pave the roads and make it routine, reliable, and maybe even profitable.
But let's be real, exploring these frontiers is anything but easy. For every dream we have of setting foot on another world, there are some very real dangers, actual dragons on our cosmic map that threaten not just the mission, but the minds and bodies of the astronauts themselves.
One of the biggest physical threats is totally invisible: cosmic rays. And we're not talking about a little bit of sunlight here. These are high-energy particles zipping through space at almost the speed of light. Research shows that this kind of radiation can literally slice right through brain tissue, just snipping the connections between neurons. On a years-long mission to Mars, the risk isn't just that the equipment might fail, it's that the crew could suffer irreversible memory and learning damage.
But the dangers aren't all physical. I mean, can you imagine being trapped in a tiny metal can with the same people for 3 years? The biggest enemy might just be chronic boredom. And this isn't just, feeling a little restless. It's a serious psychological stress. Without anything new to see or do, the mind can kind of turn on itself. We're talking depression, not being able to focus, and even dangerous risk-taking, just to feel something.
And this is exactly where science fact gets a really chilling echo in science fiction. This line from Ray Bradbury's classic Story, it just perfectly captures that deep terror behind the psychological risks, the fear of not just failing a mission, but of being fundamentally erased, of having your entire identity, who you are, just dissolved by a new world.
And that transformation is the whole point of Bradbury's story. So you have this human family, the Bitterings, and they get stranded on Mars. At first, they fight it. They are desperate to hold on to their earthly ways. But Mars starts to win. Little changes at first, then their eyes turn gold. And then they start to forget. They forget their language, their memories. The truly terrifying idea here isn't that they might die on Mars. It's that their humanity might die inside of them.
Okay, but what if the greatest danger isn't another planet changing us? What if it's our own fear that stops us from ever leaving in the first place? Another story, The Last Dog, makes you wonder if the real prison isn't out there in space, but the one we build for ourselves in our own minds.
So in this story, humanity is living inside a sealed dome. They're convinced, absolutely positive, that the outside world is a toxic wasteland. But then this one kid, Brock, he dares to go outside, and what he finds changes everything. The air is fine, the water is clean, and life, in the form of a little puppy, has survived. The real prison wasn't a poisoned planet. It was the story they told themselves. It was the fear that kept them locked away from a world that had already healed itself.
So we've seen this incredible drive to explore, we've looked at the very real risks, and we've considered these internal prisons of fear. All of this brings us to the final and most critical part of this whole thing, the choice that we, right now, have to make.
And yeah, that choice comes with a very real price tag. A manned mission to Mars is estimated to cost $500 billion. A number that big, it forces you to stop and ask some really hard questions about our priorities right here on Earth. But then, how do you calculate the return on investment for something that's never been done before? There's this great story about Benjamin Franklin. After he watched one of the very first hot air balloon flights, somebody asked him, "What use is it?" Franklin's reply just gets to the absolute heart of this whole debate. It isn't about some immediate predictable profit. It's about the endless, unknown potential of a brand new beginning.
And that's what it all comes down to. That's the fundamental choice. Do we listen to the fear that tells us to stay safe inside our dome, to protect what we have? Or do we answer that ancient genetic pull to just see what's over the next horizon, no matter what the risk or the cost might be? The answer to that question is going to define our future, whether that future is just here on Earth or out there, among the stars.